Hi, I'm John Ed Mathison, and thank you for joining us for Go-Getters and Go-Givers. Now, this whole podcast is about people who are successful, people who are go-getters, people that go the second mile, people who act and not just talk. But they're also go-givers. It's not for what they can do, but what they can do for others. And I've got two great friends I'm so excited about today because two wonderful friends. I love coaches. I love working with coaches and being around coaches, and I got two of the best right here today, a husband and a wife. Ed Rigby is a high school football coach, won a state championship, been in the finals, is just one of the more successful high school coaches. And his wife, Chanda, is the head women's basketball coach at Troy University. And you took over a team that had never been to the big dance. Right. And you have been 4 times and but these right here are just real go-getters. And they're good friends. I've met them for a while, and I just want you to get to meet them. I want you to hear their witness because both of them are dynamic witnesses, and what we want to focus on today is whatever is your job, use it as a platform to win people to Jesus. And here are two coaches that are doing that. Ed, let me just start with you. I tell you, I've really enjoyed getting to know you, and you've had a great career. You're now in Troy as a high school coach, and tell me about that state championship. I know your son was the quarterback.
Yeah, and they won despite of me. I've been the village idiot of many towns here in Alabama. Currently, I'm the head football coach, athletic director at Pike County, in Brundage, right outside of Troy. And that was special. Anytime you can do it with your own child, it's obviously. But we had lost it the year before in 2014, and we made it all the way back and. Found a way to inch it out and get it done, against Fife. And that's a lasting memory, forged for both of us. We have 2 sons. Ramsey's, the oldest. He's 29, married, got a grandchild. And Randon's 27 and, in Troy, works at Lockheed. And those, when you have moments like that they kind of bind you forever. It's not your normal everyday moment that you have with your child, because you're at practice so much with them. You get on them, you love them, you build them up. But it was something, obviously. If I'd have never coached another day after that, I would be fine. I'd be fine.
And let me tell you, I remember I helped you. I gave you a couple of suggestions that just before that, and I'm glad you did those.
Oh yeah,
and followed them well.
Did you get your ring, your championship ring? Because you should have.
I'm sure it was in the mail.
Okay.
It was. We mailed it.
Mailed it right up.
It just it gets behind.
Yeah,
it gets behind. But that was fun, and been very, very blessed to be surrounded by good players. Been very blessed to be surrounded by a bunch of great coaches, people who aspire to go on and be successful. If you read any book about whether it's Saban or it's, especially Bear Bryant, you're only as good as the folks around you. And I make sure, as I try to go out and get people way smarter than me, which is not very hard to do at times, but get people smarter than me that have a love for it and being around the kids and seeing them develop, that kind of thing. So, but it's been fun. We've been married for 34 years. And, both been coaches the whole way along. The crazy thing about Chanda is, she's always been a head coach, this will be year 35 for both of us in coaching, but her 35 is different than mine because she's always been a head coach, whether at the high school level, the NAIA level, the JUCO level, Division I level. That's very unique. It's really unheard of, especially in modern times. It doesn't happen. But it might sound like it was real ancient, but very very unique. Being able to both serve the kids, not just our kids but everybody else's kids, is a joy. And I can honestly say this. I talked to somebody about this the other day. Doing this long, I've never had one day, and I've mentioned this to Chanda probably one time, because when you cut grass a lot, you think. Okay, so I cut a lot of grass, over the years. You get your heart right with the Lord. You think through all the world's problems. If I'd have built that building, I'd have done that different. You think about a lot of stuff off the wall. But the one thing I thought about one day is I've never, ever woke up in the morning and dreaded going to work. There was never anything, and everything hadn't been perfect by no means, but there's never been anything where, man, I don't want to go do this today. Oh, Lord. Oh, man, help me through this. That day has never existed, not one time. And it's that old thing, if you really love what you do and it's not work, I don't mind getting up, And, but it's been a great, fun ride. And Lord willing, have a few more years and one more state championship in me. And, but thank you for having us.
Oh, well, no, just thank you. And I'm going to come back in a little while because a key thing that both of you do, it's the team you pick to be around you. First, the coaches and the players. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how well you've done that down at Elba in building such a team. And Chanda, it's amazing that you go to a college program, never been to the big dance, and then all of a sudden you're there, and it's just a super, super witness. You won a national championship in junior college and a lot of other championships. But you're at a place I just love going down and watching your team play. And,
Thank you, John
and
Ed.
people talk about it all the time.
Thank you, John Ed. I'm so blessed. So, yes, I did come into Detroit. The women's basketball program there, we're second to last in the nation. And in the last few years, we're the most successful team in all the Sun Belt, men or women's basketball.
Just say that again. Let me say that again.
Yeah.
People got to realize second
to last
worst
in the nation. Yeah.
And then you come to be the best, have the best.
Right.
The best team. I mean, now that is that. Now, when we say go-getters, both of you are go-getters.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you didn't wear all your rings because you couldn't have picked up your hands here today.
Well, thank
so
you.
go ahead.
Yeah. So Troy, that is true that happened, but I had a lot of practicing before that because my entire career, one place after the next, has been going into underdog situation and turning it into a championship. Worst to first stories over and over again. My first college job was at an NAIA school that had lost every game the year before by an average of 49 points, average of 49. My first high school job, I think they had only won 2 games in the previous 2 years, and we were able to turn all of those programs around. So I would definitely say I'm more of a change agent than I am of a basketball coach. And it really is a ministry, and I just want to make this point that whatever your hands find to do, God can really bless it and use it when you're keeping Him first and when you're growing with Him and looking unto Him, and because He's really used this because so many people ask, especially young coaches, how did you do it? First of all, how did you jump from a high school coach to a Division I coach? Because I've never been an assistant, and that's not an easy thing to do. The next thing is how have you turned these programs around, or how maybe have you done more with less? I've been in that situation many times. And the thing about it is, God, if you make room for God, He will abide there, and He can get glory. So the bigger the underdog situation you're in, the more glory He can get when you allow Him to be a part and work in that program or work in your job or whatever you're doing. And He really stands near to help and perform miracles or whatever it takes, or be the provider. And He gets the glory for that. And that's what my journey has been about. It's been exciting. I would recommend that to anybody in whatever profession you may be in. Just that approach that He's led me to, it's made me successful, not just in the win column, but in many ways.
And I'm going to add something to that real quick. I say this not super often, but I do tell people this. The thing about Chanda, and it's the thing that nobody sees, is, she's been super successful, and I'd like to take credit for a lot of that, but obviously I can't. None of it. But what people don't see is that 5 o'clock, 5:30 every morning with her Bible laid out and all these notebooks. We have books everywhere, John Ed. It drives me nuts. They're shoved everywhere. But she takes notes in all of this Bible study stuff and prayer lists for all of her players and their families and all that. That's not a one-day thing. That's an everyday thing for all these years. And when people ask me, they ask me those questions. How's she been so successful? How did she do that? I'll say, I'll tell you how it is. It's what nobody sees. Not one person sees it. But that's been a consistent thing. And I truly believe her success, being able to keep that going, has been because of her faith and how diligent she's been in the Word, with growth in the Word, and those type things. There's no question in my mind.
So are you telling me that coaches read the Bible? I mean,
Well, I couldn't have made it through because one thing people might not realize is in my years as a coach, over 85% of the women that I have coached have come to us highly at risk. They come with 2 or more characteristics of being at risk on a college campus. Maybe they come from poverty, or maybe they came from a home with an estranged parent, or low test scores. So research shows if you have a student come to college highly at risk, there's only about a 35% chance they will graduate. In my years as a college coach, 100% of our players have graduated. So you don't do that without, and I don't have wisdom on my own, but he's talking about those early mornings, just asking God for wisdom, how to handle situations. So many of our players have come to us not at all acclimated to a college campus. They're first in their family to come to college. So on the first day or the first 2 weeks, maybe to a professor, they don't look like college material sometimes. Maybe they don't sit in the front row at first, or they don't act like a college material. But I will say this, by the end of the semester, they're usually the most improved in that classroom, and they do get acclimated. So the reason I'm bringing that up is just to say, you don't make that jump. When I say success, I'm not talking about the wins and the rings and the championships. To me, that is success, 100% graduation for a primary population that statistics show 35% would graduate.
Wow.
And that changes the posterity of their family many times. So wisdom, just asking for wisdom at those 5 a.m. There's so many examples I could give of I didn't know which way to go. I don't know what to do in this situation. And just sitting there in the mornings and praying and asking God for wisdom, and he always provides.
so you've got an advantage. You've got an assistant coach that's there with you at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 in the morning,
The
and
best.
telling you what to do.
And throughout the day. We just start that time, but it goes throughout the day.
But tell you what I love about your work, you give God the glory. He gets the credit,
There's no
and
other way.
he's doing something. And what would happen if every coach in the United States, what if every coach of every sport took upon themselves the opportunity of, hey, every morning, God, I'm going to seek you. And I know that winning is not win-loss record, it's graduation.
Yeah.
Now, that's incredible because in our day and age, so much whoever gets the most NIL money and all that, graduation's not important. And you've instilled in your players the idea that even though we're in NIL, and a lot of athletes are looking where to get the money and not to play for a school.
Yeah.
And that's gone a long distance from where it used to be.
Right. If you had some of my players here on this podcast, I think sometimes they're a little different than just that normal population. Of course, everybody likes to get money, right? And things are driven by that. But I get to work very closely with our chancellor, Dr. Jack Hawkins Jr. at Troy, just the person I look up to the most, his wife. They are wonderful Christian people, and that's why I've been at Troy for 14 years as a head coach. That's unheard of in coaching to stay at a place this long. But they value me not just as a coach, but as somebody who stands in front of the young women in that program and my staff, and we all try to lead them in the right way. You get so much of that experience at Troy, maybe more than just being a Division I athlete, and our players value that. So I think if they were here talking to you on this podcast, they would tell you they understand, like, it is great, the money's is great, whatever they get. We try not to compare. We know comparison is a thief of joy. If we compared ourselves to the other big schools, or even here in Alabama, it might seem small, but what we're getting by reading the Word, right now they're in a session where they're studying the Word and the Bible, and in this summer their goal is to be strengthened in their souls. We know that athletes, we strengthen their bodies. At school, we strengthen their minds. But this summer, the players in our program are strengthening their souls, and they have a leader in that, and they're reading a book. And so, yeah, it makes it important.
Just look at employers. What if employers saw, you have an employee, sort of like you have a player, that part of it is not how much money you're going to make, but how much you're going to grow physically, spiritually, and mentally. And we spend a lot of time on how we can make more money.
Right.
But we need to spend more time on how we can make a difference.
Right.
And you two are difference makers.
Thank you.
That's what makes, and that's why I love being around coaches. Ed, I've known y'all for
14 years.
14
time we've been
years.
in Alabama. Yeah.
And where did we meet?
We met at Coaches Camp.
Coaches Camp.
Coaches Camp.
Fellowship of Christian Athletes. You see that displayed here. You see it on my shirt. You see it on that cap that you've got. And he didn't want to put the cap on to mess his hair up.
No,
Yeah.
no,
But,
I
mess
just
it up.
got it. Just got it right.
Just got it right. But the Fellowship of Christian
Yeah.
Athletes is one of the great organizations.
Right.
And I've been there every year. I did ask him. I said, "Now listen, why you've invited me back? Oh, why is that?" They said, "John Ed, we wanted to invite you back to you have a good sermon, and so can you come again next year?" And so I get to speak 6 times
Yeah,
there, Thursday
it's
night through
fantastic.
Sunday
Yeah.
morning. But I mean, I am inspired. I mean, we've got some of the most godly coaches, high school and college, around here that are so inspiring to me.
Right.
And you did that so well. You know, I remember your son. I loved him. I remember, y'all don't even probably know this, but I remember at camp, he was going into his senior year, I think, or junior year, and it was one of those football days of tryout or whatever. And I remember he told me on Friday, he said, "Now, I won't be here in the morning." I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, Mother and I are driving North Alabama." I mean, it was
Yeah.
250 miles away. And I'm going up there to compete
Yeah.
and do all of this. But I told her, we're going to be back for the evening worship tonight. Now,
Yeah.
I mean, now that was your quarterback
Yeah.
and your son.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of commitment that he had just to be in there, and your commitment to drive him
Yes.
to all of that. Well, what a tremendous difference. Do you have any particular thing about coaching that really made it so much more worthwhile to you? Let me just say one thing. I know a person who you have to give people a second chance.
Oh yeah.
And you had a person that you gave a job to.
Yeah, there's been a few of those, and you know, none of us are perfect, and I'm the first one to say that. I believe in second chances. Of course, there's lines you can cross, especially in education, where there's no coming back. But the one in particular that you're talking about is Johnny Dice, and Johnny. For those who don't know, you just Google his name. He had a very, very colorful, played at Alabama, from Elba, had a very colorful life after college, and found himself in and out of jail a lot on some pretty serious stuff, drug-related. And all this, he has a book. You can get it online and read it all. But it was one of those things where he was truly a godsend. It started in a weird way. If we got a second, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, we got.
When I get the job at Elba, Elba's a very storied, tradition-rich program in Alabama. I get the job, and I've been there a week. I am sitting in my office. It's in the middle of the day. I'm working on something, and this guy comes in with like this big Wyatt Earp mustache, thing. Comes in, and he introduced himself. "Hey, I'm Johnny Dice, bud. The Lord told me to come up here and tell you I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve you. If you need me to clean the toilets, that's one thing. If you need me to cut grass, the Lord told me to come tell you I'm here to serve." And I'm looking at him like, look at this weirdo. And so he told me who he was friends with. So he leaves. I called Glenn Johnson, who's been to camp a few times, him and his wife Carrie and kids. I called him and say, "Hey, man, this guy walks in. Johnny says he knows you, blah." And he told me something important because, again, Johnny's life at this point had totally changed. And he said, whatever he told you that he was to do, let him do it. So I'm like, okay. And one thing leads to another where we're in between superintendents. We have a grass job. He gets that. We don't have, what I'm saying? Kind of weird. The next, we're in between, and a guy's able to get him where he can be on campus and work and be a volunteer, with football. Next thing you know, he's coaching. Next thing you know, we're winning state championship. And a week later, I'm standing with him, in front of the parole board with the governor, and I'm getting pardoned, So,
Wow.
it just really, really weird. But that was one of those where I'm sure they don't all turn out like that, but boy, that one's turned out good. And how he, while we're on it, how he ended up with a book was he had gotten asked to speak. When we were there at the governor's council or the parole board for the governor, you have all these judges up there. Well, they had listened to him. Well, they invited him to go down to their state rally in like Orange Beach, Gulf Shores. So he goes down there and speaks. Well, the person who warmed up for him was Rudy Rutabaga from the movie, the real person there talking about what happened. Then Johnny Dice, was the main thing. So Johnny gets up and talks. Well, when he leaves, Rudy comes in and said, dude, why don't you have a book? And he's like, I never thought about no book. He said, well, you need a book and a movie. Well, the movie ain't come out yet. And obviously I'm in the book a little bit, so I'm going to need to do something with this. But if there ever is a movie. But it was truly just a remarkable thing of a guy who made full circle in his life back to where he started, and has give to kids, and made differences in their lives that, again, walked in and said, hey, I'm here to clean. Your Lord told me to clean the toilets and cut your grass. So
and society wouldn't do it thing.
No.
And you sort of glossed over a little bit, but
yeah, there's a lot of parts
you
to it.
Prayed. He bounced back.
Yeah,
He bounced back.
He bounced back.
And I know he's got at least 2 national championship rings.
Yeah,
He was a
yeah.
great athlete, but he served. Now, let me tell you what I guess you all know. We always end the camp on Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
And he would stay through Saturday night, and then he'd say, John Ed, I've got to leave. I said, why? He said, I need to get back to Elba because I'm the first one at church Sunday morning, and I want to be sure the heat or the air conditioning and everything is clean, everything is ready, the church is unlocked. And I said, wow, you're a servant.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I said, man, that's a servant. And he said, but then also I teach the men's Bible class. So, a whole
Yes.
community, God was in the second chance business.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And Ed, you demonstrated that. And let me tell you, you were the benefactor because he is a smart
Oh, yeah.
coach, and he can do that. And I heard you speak this year. That was one of the best, I don't know if you would call it a sermon, a speech, whatever, to all of those coaches and their families. That was one of the best that I've ever heard. Chanda, it was
thank
just
you.
tremendous. But just recap for us a minute.
Yeah.
Why do you coach? What's your main purpose in coaching?
I want to do things that other people feel are impossible, or they would look at me and say, how did you do that? And I can share Christ through that. Because God is in the impossible business, and I've just partnered with him so many times and seen him come through. But speaking of that message that you heard me speak about, that's really on my heart because it came to me very early in one of those 5 a.m. Bible times I was having. And I'll just share it because it's kind of an epiphany to me, and I'm trying to share it with as many as I can. I'm actually writing a book about it. But, as coaches, we feel like the people that we're coaching, or maybe a pastor, you might feel like the people you're pastoring, you feel like the people you're currently working in, that might be your ministry. And that's true. That is important. But I had something happen to me, a little out of the way experience that made me realize that, it's the players, over 1,000 players I've coached in my past. Most coaches have many, or teachers have many people they've taught in their past. And when you're trying to teach them many good lessons while they're in school, they're young. They don't have any achy knees. They've never had the wolf's never been knocking at their door. They've not gone through a bad marriage, had to pay a bill that they didn't know how to pay. And life has not been lifing yet for many of them. It's us coaches, we still have that influence. If we can reach back to those players that we had in the past, because we establish that strong relationship usually. I might have 1,000 people I've coached in the past, but for every single one of those 1,000, I'm still their coach. My most influential time might be my ministry, my mission field, the greatest mission field might be with my former players, and taking time to reach back because they're probably going to be more receptive to the lessons that God might have for me to share with them now more than they even were. So I think if we shift our focus, it is about living right in front of the players and setting an example and being God's hands and feet while we have our players. But let's don't leave what I would call in baseball ducks on the pond. Let's don't go out with the bases loaded. The greatest opportunity we might have is to reach back. And I'm actually writing a book right now it's called a gift from coach that any coach could send out to their former players if they wanted to reach all their former players. And it just starts out with, how much the coach, I appreciate having coached you, but I just have one question. Is your soul completely satisfied?
Now, I want you to say that again, because a lot of people don't know that we got a lot of coaches. That's their purpose, about your soul. And just to say that again, what do you want to ask them that they can do?
So I'd just like to ask former players, people who are adults, who are out now with adult responsibilities and life is lifing, I would just like to ask them, is your soul completely satisfied? And if it is, I ask them just to pass the book on to somebody else. But if it's not, which most cases you're not, right? There's something. It just goes into talking about, if I had a cure for cancer, I'd want to give it to every one of my former players, but I don't. But what I do know is how to have a completely satisfied soul. I've lived it, I'm experiencing it, and I know how to do it. And so through that way, I can just hopefully lead them and point them to Christ. And I think it's an opportunity that any coaches or teachers or business people or people of influence in other people's lives, any of us can think about, what about those people I affected back? Should I reach back to somebody?
And, the mission of the church, Jesus came to save souls. And, the main thing is to know the main thing and keep the main thing the main thing.
Right.
And churches have lost that. I mean, you can look at just a recent study showed the commitment to church has declined exponentially, while the love of money and other things have increased so much. But I think many churches are not zeroed in on, are you sure if you died today where you would spend eternity? And you're a coach, and you're doing more than us ministers and churches a lot of ways. Both of you are doing that, and I'm just glad that folks can hear you say that.
Thank you.
And to see that as a minister, as a coach. And Ed, you did the same thing with football. It doesn't matter if it's football or basketball. In fact, y'all have got me inspired. I think
Let's go get on that jump shot, Johnny.
Yeah, I only played football 1 year. So I've got another year of
some
eligibility. I'd like that. And
Come on down.
basketball, but I couldn't make your team. I'm not good enough. I played college ball, but you're
a winner, Johnny.
I would love to play on your team. Court, I better be careful because men can't play on women teams.
No.
So, but I would just love to be under the influence of both
Thank
of
you.
you. I wish folks could just realize Troy is blessed. Troy is blessed out there at your school. I mean, to have their kids under your pastoral,
You're very kind.
ministerial liturgy, and to have
They really are.
that, and to have a university,
Yeah.
and you got so many fine Christian people there.
I do.
And Jack Hawkins is just a dear,
Yeah.
He is.
dear friend, and he leaves that open to you. Now, you've never been called down or stuff like that. He's an ex-Marine.
Yeah.
He can get you back.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to say that about how fortunate, like Ed, I've been in so many locker rooms. I'm asked to speak pregame speeches or before season starts, and I've been in so many locker rooms and I've been invited, but I've still yet to be in a locker room that somebody has more command of the young men in the room than he does. And they are blessed to have him because he shows them on a day in and day out basis what it's like to grow up and be a real man. So many of them in the locker room have never had that in front of them, and so I'm proud of that. And a godly man and have a godly home and that kind of thing. And how important is that? It is important. But back to Troy, yes, it's a special place that I have the opportunity. Dr. Jack Hawkins Jr., his wife, the first lady of Troy University, she prays for me every day and my influence with the women on our team, and she prays for my players. Now I don't know who else can say that about their chancellor and their first lady on the campus, but she does. She sends me notes all the time, and she'll call my players by name and ask how they're doing, or if they have any needs, or how they're doing on their journey to get their degree. And it's just a great situation. And
that you got great leadership. I love that. Let me just tell you, I had something happen in my ministry that had never happened before in all my years. Was about a year or so ago when they did the documentary on Dr. Hawkins. Now a Marine going into Vietnam, and the opposition from the Viet Cong, and then after the war, those two have gotten together and have formed education. They've forgiven each other, And that was just it's a great, great story. And if people can look at that documentary on forgiveness and the number of students back and forth with Troy and the university there. But let me tell you what was so interesting, that they showed it here in Montgomery. It was the premiere.
Yes.
And that was just a
I was
packed
there.
house. And I never had this happen before, but he had asked me to just give the prayer and for the beginning of the program. And I don't know, in doing it, he had announced his retirement. And 3 days before that, the Board of Trustees had met and said, we want to plead with you, don't retire yet. And if he hadn't decided not to, they would have probably said you can't. But at any rate, they plead, and he said, well, I won't retire. And so in the prayer, I've never had this before, but while I was praying, I said, God, thank you for Troy University, and thank you for Jack Hawkins for agreeing not to retire yet and can stay on. And people started applauding
In
during
the prayer. I was there.
I've never had during a prayer, and I mean, but people started applauding. But I love that, and I love all that you're doing, and I want to just thank LCA.
Yes,
I guess
let's talk
that
about
sort of
that.
brought us together. And we just got a couple of minutes left here, but I know you're very active. Both of you are great promoters for Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Right.
And I appreciate him. Let me be sure I heard you correctly now. You coaching, you need to win. But winning isn't the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to see young people's lives changed.
That's right.
And you're doing it with. And of all things that we need today, Ed, is for godly fathers.
Oh, yeah.
And if every child could grow up with a daddy, our world would be different.
A total different place.
Right. And you are a person that's helping make that come back around. I've met a great basketball coach, college. And I've never met him, but we've been connected through the blogs that I write. And he sent me a note today. He said, Jalen Brunson, the star for the Knicks, had a father. Michael Jordan had a father. What are we doing to raise fathers? A great basketball coach. And I just thought, boy, that is exactly right. And we just got to bring women, yes.
Yes.
But boys, so I just want to
100%.
thank both of you for what you're doing. You've been an inspiration to me and a blessing. And I look forward to going back to FCA, the coaches camp. That's a great experience. In fact, I had a coach this past week said, let me know more about that. I'm going to go next year. And so I hope folks can do that. But thank y'all for your leadership, and thank you so much for your friendship. And I want to just have a prayer.
Great.
A blessing for you and for the folks that
Wonderful.
you coach. And just thank you for what you're doing. I'm on your team. I want to be your cheerleader. Y'all just, it's a great, great day to be alive.
Amen.
Thank you, John Ed. We
Great.
appreciate everything you do. Thank
Great
you.
thing. And by the way, too, just one thing I just got to say before I close. You know what I'm going to say. We got the athlete's Bible, and I got mine. And in the Bible, it's got the Bible, and then at the end, it's got huddle groups and some exercises. And Chanda wrote one of those. Now, this went out to athletes all over the world, and within that, and so I just thought I would just say, first Bible I've ever had that had the 66 books, plus another author, and he did write, and it's in that Bible. It's not in the canon. And I just said, ask you to sign my Bible. So I've got a Bible signed by somebody
that actually wrote in it.
Wrote in it there.
Well, thank you, John Ed. You're a great hype man. Yes, I did. I wrote in the Bible.
You sure did. And I appreciate that. And just thank y'all for letting me know you all and maybe sit
We
at your
appreciate
Thank
you.
you. We appreciate and we love you.
All right, great. Well, let's pray together. Father, what a rich time, precious, sweet time this has been. You know, God, the advice that's been shared, every person watching, listening, every person, whatever their profession, that can be a platform to not just have wins and losses, but to have souls that are different and will spend eternity differently. I want to thank you for Ed. Thank you for Chanda. And God, just bless them exponentially. And what a blessing it is in Troy, Alabama, and all the places that reach out for their witness. Give them good health. Keep them close to each other. Thank you for their marriage and what it communicates to everybody. Thank you for our boys. I pray for them. Thank you, Father. And most of all, I thank you for Jesus, who brings us all together. And I pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
And thank you for joining us, and be a go-getter. And more importantly, be a go-giver.